Netero was ultimately defeated by the limitations of his mortal body. He lost a leg and an arm, and despite the fierce determination burning within him, he could only collapse to his knees. Humanity simply couldn't match the ants. Even his attack with the destructive power of a nuclear weapon had barely scratched the Ant King. At 120 years old, Netero's aging human body had reduced his strength to less than half of what it once was. In his prime, he could have faced the Ant King without sacrificing his life force, but those days were long gone. The Ant King was confident that victory was inevitable. He wasn't just an ant, he was the ultimate life form, carrying the genetic material of every species within him. All of nature's evolutionary progress, every plant and animal, had become his nourishment. A mere human couldn't possibly harm him. But then, something changed. A powerful malevolent aura suddenly emanated from Netero's body. The Ant King didn't understand what was happening, but for the first time since his birth, he felt fear. Netero plunged his hand into his own heart. The Ant King had only one thought now: escape. As Netero's heart beat its final beats, the bomb implanted within it detonated completely. The explosion's power exceeded even the Tsar Bomba. This weapon was called the poor man's rose, cheap to produce but devastatingly powerful. Netero had chosen this battlefield deliberately. It was the very site where this bomb had first been tested. From the very beginning, he had planned to take the Ant King down with him. Meanwhile, the Ant King's subordinates detected the massive explosion. They lost all trace of the king's aura and rushed to ground zero, desperate to find him. But what they discovered was hell on earth: rocks melted by extreme heat, magma pouring from the ground below, as if the very earth rejected any living thing's approach. Poof believed the Ant King was most likely dead, but Yuppie refused to accept it. He immediately plunged into the molten rock to search for their king. This was the duty and loyalty that belonged uniquely to the ants. Yuppie endured the agonizing heat and raced toward the explosion's epicenter, where he could still detect the Ant King's scent. To keep outsiders away, Poof quickly created multiple clones to stand guard. But then he heard Yuppie scream. At the center of the blast, Yuppie had found the Ant King's body. As both subordinates fell into despair, the king's corpse made a faint sound. The Ant King was barely alive without immediate treatment. Death was imminent. But Poof had an idea. He knew the Ant King's ability was to devour anything and convert it into his own power. If the king consumed them, his body might heal. Poof immediately dissolved his clones and fed them to the Ant King. The king's life force began rapidly recovering. Seeing this, Yuppie also offered his power, concentrating his life essence and feeding it to their king. The Ant King's damaged body was restored.